This video is intended to be a brief little intro on creating presentation graphics on AutoCAD. By presentation graphics, I simply mean like creating bar charts, flow charts, or really whatever else. And this is kind of a continuation off my fake 3D video from last week. I just want to show you guys some things that you can do in AutoCAD that might be considered unconventional that you might have not thought of. Now, there are better programs for this, but the big take home here is that if you're really good at AutoCAD, you might find it actually faster to create graphics like this. Yeah, so a few skills you might need to be able to do this is just a good understanding of dynamic blocks. And in my case, since I program in AutoLISP, I'm actually able to use AutoLISP to collect data for my bar charts. So I'm going to get into that towards the end of this video, but first I'll just do a brief overview of what I've created here. Okay, so I want this video to be as brief as possible, so I'm not going to create anything in real time. I'm just going to dissect everything I created. So first we have kind of like a text box, right? So this would be kind of integral to creating a flow chart. So I have my text and the box separate. I do have an mText attribute in here, but I don't like doing that. I don't know, I just find multi-line text attributes to be a bit cumbersome. So what I would normally do here is just stretch my block, scale the text to where I want it, get it right in the middle if that's where you want it, and just do a copy with base point and paste as new block. So Control-Shift-C, copy with base point, and then Control-Shift-V, and that does a couple things. It now I have a block I can move around, copy, you know, and it locks the drawing order. In newer versions of AutoCAD, the drawing order is much better, but in older versions, you probably experienced you go to print and the draw order actually changes on you, but only when you print and you can't fix it. So one workaround for that is to actually put everything into a block. Now this is a bit messy, and AutoCAD's not the perfect program for flowcharts in the first place. So what that did is it created a block with a random name. It has a $, and a bunch of random letters and numbers, right? But it's not perfect, but it works. So before we get further, I just want to mention that when you're working in AutoCAD like this, with all these blocks everywhere, you might want to turn off your object snaps, or at least modify them. Because when I try to draw, say, a line right here, it's going to really have a preference towards snapping to the insert point of this block, because that block takes up so much of the working area, right? So I'm going to have that off for the rest of the tutorial. And if for some reason I do want to snap to a corner, I can just do a snap override. I think my right click menu is disabled, but yours, you can get to the object snaps through that if it's not disabled on your AutoCAD. But yeah, so if I want to draw a line to the midpoint, I can just use the mid snap override. There's ways around it, but anyways, I don't want to go too far off course here. So yeah, there's that. I have these little arrows I made, and these are just dynamic blocks. Go into the block editor just to show you kind of how I created this. One key aspect of these is that when you create the hatch, you want to use like the polyline, a polyline as your boundary. And when you create your actions, don't select the hatch as part of the actions, because it will have a tendency sometimes to actually drag the hatch out of position and break that relationship between the hatch's boundary and the hatch itself. So the hatch will, I'll just use the stretch command just so you can see what I mean. The hatch will stay with its boundary. The exception is that if you can see like the center of the hatch, if I drag it, it'll probably, oh, perfect. Maybe that's something that got fixed in newer versions of AutoCAD. But anyways, I still adhere to that rule. Maybe you don't have to. If your block is pulling the hatch out of place, just keep that in mind, that maybe you do have to deselect the hatch from the action. But anyways, that made a fool out of me, so let's move on. Okay, so you can actually create half decent looking graphics in AutoCAD itself. Since I'm really good at AutoCAD, I could probably make something like this in AutoCAD faster than like your typical Paint program, Adobe Photoshop, or I like to use Paint.net because it's quick and easy. I can do stuff like this in AutoCAD super fast. Newer versions of AutoCAD handle attachments way better. This is actually copied and pasted. It's a OLE, whatever that is, right? You can see some graphical issues as I zoom out. But let's do a print preview just to see what we're gonna get. So I think when that actually prints to a PDF, other than the pixelation, it'll look pretty okay. Just below this, I actually have a proper you can see it as I select it here in the I'll go to unload, reload. Sorry, I was just trying to show you that this is actually an attachment. And there's some graphical issues here. You might notice that the transparency is kind of messing up. But again, I don't think that'll show up when I print. Let's just do that. Do a preview. Yeah, I think when I print that, it would be okay. Here's another one I printed and attached. Yeah, so I guess one slight drawback is sometimes the print quality isn't the best, but so far when I was getting all the stuff ready for this video, everything looks pretty good when I print it to a PDF. Okay, so I saved my best trick for last. That is the bar chart, which I'm using AutoLISP to collect the data for. So I'm going to go to my Visual Lisp editor, and this is something I just whipped up this morning. And all it does is it counts the amount of lines and polylines in the drawings database, and then it finds those two blocks, and I'll show you. Actually makes a bar chart showing me roughly how many lines there are compared to polylines. So let's draw a polyline. Let's copy it a bunch of times. Let's copy all those a bunch of times. Let's rerun bar chart. So I'm actually able to change. That's probably a bad idea, huh? But let's run that again. Bar chart. So yeah, I'm actually able to use AutoLISP to drive my bar chart. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit and also running out of coffee. So yeah, once I get the code, the base code created, this violates some good coding practices, the do not repeat yourself, but I could make a better code if I had more time, more coffee. I'll go back into my drawing. And yeah, this is kind of fake. I just whipped it up for the thumbnail for this video, but it would only take me minutes to add, like count the amount of circles, amount of blocks, the amount of XREFs, whatever, right? And I'm only using the existing drawing database information, but I could actually use AutoLISP to read an Excel sheet, use AutoLISP to read just a CSV or a text file. I think if you wanted to read web data or something like that, you'd need C# and .NET. But yeah, it's a lot is possible here, and to be honest, I can make a bar chart like this using actual data faster in AutoCAD than pretty much anything else, just because I'm so familiar with AutoCAD. So that's not to say like Power BI isn't way better, or Excel or whatever, and especially if you do VBA and combine that with Excel. But for me, my skill set, I'm way faster like this compared to all those other things. Okay, so while I wrap this video up, I just want to look at the end result in Bluebeam. These were printed out as PDFs. I did try printing a PNG file, and that didn't turn out too good. So yeah, there's a few hitches here and there. The flowchart, you'll notice there's some minor graphical issues. Sometimes you can fix these little polyline joins like that. This, I don't think there's any fixing that, but at least when you're zoomed out, you can't really see it. With the image that I shrunk down, there's quite a bit of noise when you zoom in, but you might not notice that when you zoom out. And then the pylon's pretty much perfect, just about. But yeah, so you might find this useful, maybe not, but hopefully I was able to show you some neat things you can do in AutoCAD that you probably didn't think to use AutoCAD for. So anyways, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.